Girl, I wish I had you to do my hair and makeup every day.
Okay, so I think we have all the details up on the screen. What else do you want to share about?
Well, I'm an open book. You can ask me anything.
Okay. It says here that you're a Christian. You want to talk about that?
Well, that's true. I'm a Christian, kind of, but that's not really something worth talking about on the show.
Would you say your faith is important to you?
I mean, yeah, my parents made sure I was in church, but I'm not one of those people who lets it completely take over their life. I just like to have fun, you know? I wouldn't say it's who I am or anything like that.
I am so glad that you're here for week 3 of Christian Atheist. How many of you have been here for at least one of the other weeks throughout this series? Have you enjoyed it? I know in the last one they really shared some enthusiasm and enjoying this. And so this week, we're going to be jumping right in and continuing that. But this whole series, the premise of this, if you haven't been here, there's this term that Craig Groeschel coined where he calls a Christian atheist. And so we know a Christian, someone that believes in God, an atheist, someone that does not believe in God. And so you take these two things, it's like, well, how do they mix together? And that's what we're talking about. There's this term that he's created, a Christian atheist, someone who believes in God, but doesn't live as if he exists. And so week 1, we talked about, I believe in God, but I don't know him. Week 2, we talked about, I believe in God, but I don't fear him. And this week, we're talking about, I believe in God, but I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to be one of those Christians. I want to be one of those people. And so that's what we're going to be jumping in here today talking about. There's a Gallup poll, I've shared this other weeks, that 94% of Americans believe in God or some universal spirit. And so a lot of people are what they would default themselves to Christianity. They say that they're a Christian because they're not something else. I'm not a Muslim, so I'm a Christian, right? Or I'm not a Buddhist, so I'm a Christian. I've been to church. My parents went to church growing up, so I'm a Christian. That's where I identify myself, the casual Christian. So anyway, that's where we're jumping in here today. I believe in God and everything, but I don't want to be one of those fanatics. How many of you have ever dealt with this thing called vomit? Yeah, I'm jumping in. We're starting off today with vomit. Anybody here? I'm guaranteeing you that the people talking about vomit are probably parents. I'm a parent of 3 daughters, and I'm going to start off today's message talking about vomit. So let's all say the word vomit. Vomit. Okay, that's good. That's good. So we are now van people in my family. I don't know how that happened. We own a minivan. I swore that I would never own a minivan, and now we have a Honda Odyssey minivan. So this minivan that I never thought I would own, it's reached a new level of low. It's so funny. My dad is visiting right now. My dad's visiting from Houston. And it's funny, we went to eat lunch with Libby at school on Friday, and we pull into the lot, and I said, oh, yeah. I said, didn't know if you knew this, but Julie and I are now a van family. And my dad looks at me, and he says, I'm sorry. So when your dad is cooler than you, that's not a good thing. So my dad, though, putting me down for owning the van. So we have this van, but I live by this adage, this phrase, happy wife, happy life. And my wife loves this van. She loves this van. Every day we get into it, she'll rub the steering wheel and she goes, I just love this thing. And I'm like, well, I love you. So there we are. And I enjoyed it. It's okay. But we had this van for about 2 days. 2 days. And we're not these people that, we get new cars all the time. Like I've got a 2005 Nissan Titan, paid off. I've been driving that thing, 150,000 miles on it. I'm gonna drive it. I love it. Love it. Paid off. I don't get new cars. I went through that phase in my life and I'm done with that. So Mom, I want to have her and the kids in something new, so they're in this van, new van. And you know what that's like when you get a new car? You know what I'm saying? Like you don't eat in it. The kids are like, you're like, if you give them a drink, it's water only. It's got to have a top on it, things like that. You're taking care of this. It's not going to look like the last car we had, like my Titan. And so anyway, we take this weekend trip to what I coin hillbilly hell, Branson. And so we're down at Branson, and we have the van out there, and Libby lets us know that she is not feeling well. And this van has gigantic windows. Like you could put like a casket through the window, huge windows. And so Libby's like, well, I'm not feeling, I don't feel good. She's like, you know what I'm talking about as a parent, that the look, it's real, you don't. Okay, so I'm rolling the window down, and this thing is huge. It's literally almost 4 feet wide. It goes all the way down, and I'm like, out the window. And Libby gets to the point of projection and does not point at the window. Wide open, blows up all over the inside of the car. And as a dad, I'm doing the dad thing, like driving. I'm like, are you kidding me? How could you not hit the window is down, Libby? And Julie's trying to be all calm, and she's like, Shane, don't get mad at her. It's going to be a bad memory for her. And I'm like, it's a bad memory for me. It should be a bad memory. Why is that a big deal? It's like, I know everyone does it be a good memory. Oh, Dad, remember that time I puked in the car? It was a great family vacation. So then it's all over the car, and I'm just like, I'm trying to get off the road. I just want to get off the road. It stinks, and I've got Gabby in the back, and then she's in her car seat. She's like, ooh, dinky, ooh, that dinky. And so we're trying to find somewhere to get off the road, and then it comes again. And Libby's like, I don't feel, and I'm like, the window is still down. And what does Libby do? She pukes in the car again. And by this time, like will you hand me my drink there? It's making me, sorry, even just talking about it. So, yeah. So anyway, just even talking about this, folks. So Libby, she does it again. She pukes in the car again. I'm sorry. So, that's really it. I just wanted to start off the message today with a story about vomit. So now that I got you in here, no, everyone say the word vomit. We'll come back to it. We'll come back to it. I believe in God and everything, but I don't want to be a fanatic. We're going to jump in here. Jesus wrote a letter in the book of Revelation to 7 different churches. He writes a letter to 7 different churches, individual letters to 7 different churches. And to 6 of these churches, Jesus starts off the letter with something good, something they've done right. You know, that's good PR. That's good. Start off with something. I always call it the sandwich method. You start with something good, hit the negative, and with a positive. You know, sandwich the negative with good. So it's kind of what Jesus is doing here. He's starting off with 6 of them, tell them something they've done right, they've done well, and then he corrects them. Then he's got one church. I'm going to call this church Bella. He's got this one church that he just goes straight to the correction. Just gets right down to business. Actually, this church is called Laodicea. Let me give you some background on this church, Laodicea. Laodicea is a wealthy city, and it's before this letter was written, 35 years before this letter was written, it was destroyed by an earthquake, but because of its great wealth, it was rebuilt quickly. And not only was it rebuilt quickly, but it was rebuilt to the standards better than it was before the earthquake. And so it was known because of its amazing theaters, probably not 3D, not back then, but their stadiums, huge stadiums that they had, their lavish public baths, their shopping centers that they had in that day. And so you could picture this out in this desert, this town of great wealth. And I picture like maybe Vegas. Everybody ever been to Vegas? Something like that, out in the middle of the desert, or maybe Dubai. I picture Dubai, out in the middle of the desert, this just mecca of wealth. I heard there's a hotel in Dubai that's like made of granite, correct? Mike's been there. He's told me about this. So, but anyways, there's a hotel that over there made of granite. Has nothing to do with this, but that's what I'm picturing is this place. So let's jump into Revelation chapter 3, verses 14 through 17. To the angel of the church in Laodicea, he writes this. These are the words of the Amen, the faithful and true witness, the ruler of God's creation. Jumping in here in 15. I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth. Verse 17, you say, I am rich, I have acquired wealth, I do not need a thing. But do you not realize that you are wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked? Verse 20 goes on to say, but here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. So it says here, I know your deeds, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish you were either one or the other. Anybody in this room enjoy coffee? Who out there enjoys coffee? Coffee can be enjoyed in a couple different ways. Anybody like hot coffee? hot coffee. We learned that Sonny in our first service, he likes it 140 degrees because he has a sensitive palate. Anybody else order your coffee at a specific temperature? Does that have to be hot for you? 130. 130. Sensitive. Don't want your, burn your mouth. But anyways, how many of you also, though, you like coffee the other way? Coffee can be served cold. How many of you like it cold? I'm one of these people. I like the frap, the blended thing. Put some espresso in there with the ice and the whipped cream, and that's what I like. Make it, that's good. But anyways, we can all agree, though, if we like it hot or we like it cold, how do none of us like it? Lukewarm. If coffee sits out on the counter or in the carafe or whatever for 2 hours, no thanks. It's nasty. Tea, the same way. You like iced tea, or we like hot tea. No one says, you know what, do you have any room temperature tea? We're looking for some room temperature tea. That's what. Do you have any coffee that, it's been setting out for a little while that you maybe sell for $3 instead of $12? That's what we're looking for. Hot and cold drinks, though, in this time were a premium. Piped water was put through the city of Laodicea because they had great technology for their time, and in the process of piping the water, it would cool it, but it wasn't necessarily cold. They didn't have refrigerators or the power to keep a drink cold. They didn't have like a ice machine that's keeping things cold, and they didn't have that. So if you were at a feast or a religious festival of some type and you were prestigious or a privileged person, you would be served your drinks first, because that way you would get them either hot or cold. Everybody else, the common folk like us, we would be at the back of the line and we would get our drinks lukewarm. Lukewarm. Therefore, it would be not enjoyable. So because you are lukewarm, neither hot nor cold, I'm about to spit you out of my mouth, says Revelation 3:16. Let's look at the Greek for this word, spit. The word is pronounced emeo. Emeo, if you were to spit, to vomit, to utterly reject something, to be supremely repulsed by something, it would be emeo. So for us to read that scripture and say, I spit you out of my mouth, it doesn't seem that horrible. I mean, baseball players spit. We spit. You see people spit. While it's gross, it's not necessarily the worst thing in the world. But when we replace that word spit with this Greek word, I utterly reject you. I am supremely repulsed by you. If you are not hot nor cold, if you are lukewarm, it has a little stronger connotation to that. I know your deeds, now they're hot and cold. I wish you were one or the other. Anybody ever experienced drinking spoiled milk in your cereal or your drink? What do? No one, sometimes if I get like a lukewarm coffee, I'll take a drink and I'll swallow it, but I choose not to drink anymore. Spoiled milk, no one goes, oh. No one swallows that and chooses not to drink anymore. They do something about it. I want this out of my mouth, out of my body. I don't want this in my system. We don't just choose to casually take it, but you know what? I'll shy away next time. Spoiled milk, we reject it immediately. Here's my question. How do you check for spoiled milk? What do? You smell the jug. But my question to you is, what's it supposed to smell like? Like milk doesn't smell good to me to begin with. Like fresh milk still smells nasty. So what is it we're looking for? It's just something we do, right? We just smell that, and I don't know, sidetrack. Anybody ever heard this word, oxymoron? Oxymoron? Someone give me an example of an oxymoron. What'd you say?
Military intelligence.
Military intelligence from the little guy up front. I like it. Someone else, give me another one. Yes, Riley.
Pretty ugly.
Hey, this is my wife. She's pretty ugly. No, you don't say that. You don't say pretty ugly. That's a good one. Anybody else got one? Jumbo shrimp. Yes. It's like, this is a large shrimp. It's one of these words like this. I have some other ones for you, kind of like yours. Government efficiency. I thought that was a good one. Cool hipster. Super Bowl champion Chiefs. Too soon? Too soon? Microsoft works. No? Okay. Anyway, so you have this oxymoron, this word. Another oxymoron is this: lukewarm Christians. How can we be a Christ follower and be lukewarm? Lukewarm Christians, the greatest oxymoron I can say today. So we're going to talk about this term, lukewarm Christians. What exactly are they? What do they do? How do we identify what a lukewarm Christian is? Number one, I want to share this with you. Lukewarm Christians crave acceptance from people more than acceptance from God. Lukewarm Christians crave acceptance from people more than acceptance from God. And so you look at this, you hear this word, and you're thinking, okay, yeah, I could see that. Timothy said that there would be lovers of themselves in the Bible. How do you identify someone that's a lover of themselves? You go to their social networking profiles, and they're full of these. What is that, women? What is that? Has there ever been a man on the face of the planet that said, you know what, sweetie? If you would just do this more often, I would find you so attractive. The duck face. What is that? But you go to this, you see all the selfies. Selfie people crave acceptance from people more than acceptance from God. I'm thinking that's the truth. Jesus said, be aware when all men speak well of you. Be aware when all men speak well of you. I'm doing good in this area. Yesterday, I got griped out from head to toe by somebody. So that area, I'm doing good. Living for the approval of people rather than from the approval of God. We need to live our lives from the approval of Jesus. Jesus died on the cross for us. We need to be living from the approval of Jesus, that we are blood-bought believers in Christ. Living for the approval of people. Woe to you when all men speak well of you. Lukewarm Christians. Number two, rarely share their faith in Christ. Lukewarm Christians rarely share their faith in Christ. If we really believe this, we would get over our fear and share our faith in Christ. I was using him as an example in the first service, but has anybody ever been to lunch or to coffee or out in public with Sonny Johnson? Sonny Johnson is guaranteed to do what? He's going to share his faith. Hey, can I pray for you? He just stops, and it doesn't matter what you're doing. He's going to stop. If you're at the toll booth and you got a line of people and you're on your way to Tulsa, Sonny would be like, hi, what's your name, Georgine? Hey, you know what? I'm with a group. We're going to Tulsa today. We're going to the Great Escape, and I just wanted to say hello to you. And as we go, is there anything I can pray for you for? People are honking and stuff. He's like, I don't care. You're here, I'm here. There's a reason. Just shares his faith. I love it. I was with another guy named Daryl this week for coffee. Daryl Billings was here for the first service, and he's another one of these guys. He does these things. It's called a treasure hunt. And he says, we go out and we just hunt for what's God's treasure. God's treasure. He says it looks like this. We just feel that God reveals that we're supposed to be somewhere, and we go there, and sometimes even shares with us, hey, you know what? Look for someone that's wearing green and yellow. Like he shared this example with me. It was so cool. He said, we were supposed to go to Walmart, felt that we were supposed to go to the paint section and look for a green and yellow uniform. I know it sounds stupid, it sounds weird, but that was our scavenger hunt. We go back to the paint section, and there's a little boy back there in a soccer uniform that's green and yellow, and there's his dad. He's an administrator at the high school, and he says, this is going to sound weird, but I'm just supposed to let you know I'm here to encourage you. I'm just to encourage you. And the guy stops with him. He's like, that is so great. And now they have this constant back and forth. He's an administrator for the Joplin School District, and he prays for him. He just prays for him on a regular basis. But he just shared his faith. He just shared his faith, and he's like, and I'll be darned if there isn't a little kid back there in a green and yellow soccer uniform, and I'm thinking, holy cow. He said, but I just listened to God. I just listened to what God was trying to tell me. I was seeking out his treasure, sharing his faith. If you confess me before men, I will confess you before my Father. Simple as that. If you confess me before men, I will confess you before my Father. If you deny me before men, guess what Jesus says? I'll deny you before my Father. Anybody ever hang out with someone that your parents told you not to hang out with? What'd you do when your parents caught you with them? Her? No. Him? No, we don't hang out. That's what we do to Jesus all the time. No, were you at church Sunday? Did you go? No. Peter did the same thing. Hey, Peter, don't you hang out with Jesus? I saw you with Jesus. And Peter's like, no, I don't know the man. No, I don't know. I tell you, I don't know the man. Denied him 3 times. They rarely share their faith in Christ. Lukewarm Christians were really good about this, rationalizing their sin. Lukewarm Christians will rationalize their sin. The very sin that Jesus died on a cross for, that Christ died on the cross for, that God took really seriously, because he knew that because of this sin, you couldn't spend an eternity. You could no longer be with him, because where sin is, he cannot be. And he knew there had to be a payment for sin, so he sent his son to die on a cross for us, to bridge the gap, to abolish that sin. We rationalize it and we rebrand it as something comfortable. We rebrand sin all the time. Adultery sounds like such a dirty word. It's an affair. An affair isn't a dirty word. An affair is romantic. An affair is simple. Adultery, that's a dirty word. Pornography sounds so bad. So what do we call it now in our culture? It's adult entertainment. It's entertainment for adults. When you get older, you can enjoy this as well. Cursing. We call it adult language. Hey, you shouldn't do this now, but when you get older as an adult, it's for you. When you grow up, it's sin, and we rationalize it. And then we will say in ourselves, we'll rationalize in ourselves that, hey, our life isn't so bad. I'm not so bad. What I do with my life, I'm not as bad as this guy. I'm not as bad as this person. I'm not as bad as that or that or that. We look at our life and we rationalize. Someone that's a lukewarm Christian does this, thinks about life on earth more than an eternity in heaven. Thinks about life on earth more than an eternity in heaven. Paul said something crazy. He was talking crazy talk when he said this, to live is Christ. For me, to live is Christ. So if I'm alive, it's about Christ. And if I die, it's gain. If I were to die today, I would gain everything because it's all about him. It's his. And I shared this illustration a few weeks ago where I was on the stage and I said, imagine if you will, if I had a rope here on the stage and went to the back of the room, and that represented today till the end of our eternity. Our lives, our 50, maybe 90 years, if you are a blessed person, is about 6 inches of the rope, about that much. And the rope goes here beyond the back wall to Old Chicago Pizza, beyond that to I-44. We focus our entire existence, our entire worth, our entire purpose, our entire drive, our pursuit of everything is for that 6 inches. And we get lost on that right there. And we live our lives thinking about more of that than our eternity. To live is Christ, to die is gain. We are consumed with the things of this world rather than eternally thinking. Lukewarm Christians are really good about this one, only turning to God when they need something. Lukewarm Christians will only turn to God when they need something. Because really, who needs God when the sun's shining and the bills are paid? God, you're good and all, but I don't need you now because life is good. But then this little ugly thing called cancer shows up. And then we cry out, we put on social media, we start GoFundMes, we do everything. God, heal me, heal her, heal him, heal this. Where was God when the weather was good, when it wasn't raining? We turn to God when we need something. And then guess what? Healed of cancer. Then God gets stowed away back in that drawer, put back away. I'm good now. God did his thing. I'm going to give him some praise. I'm going to go live my life. The 6 inches. And go back to living my life thinking about that. We treat God as if he is a vending machine. Lukewarm Christians treat God as he's a vending machine that sits at the car lot in the back that, okay, today I'm thirsty. Every other day we walk past it. No need. Another thing lukewarm Christians do, they give whenever it is convenient. Give whenever it's convenient. They give when it looks good. Give when it looks good, when people see the act of it. If it doesn't affect your standard of living, if it's not going to challenge you, okay, I could give. But don't ask me to do something that I don't want to do because I don't want to be challenged by God. Do you know that there are times in life, even for Julie and I, that it's a challenge to give? I promise you, there are days it's a challenge for Julie and I to give even today. Because there's things called children that consume money. They just burn it. They get sick. They outgrow their clothes. They eat all the muffins, man. I never get a muffin in my house. They eat them all. I know it looks like I get a muffin, but I don't get muffins. Tangent, rabbit trail. What was I talking about? Oh, children. And then there's things like this. The air conditioner goes out. The furnace goes out. The transmission in your car, it leaks. Wrecks happen. Illnesses happen. Therefore, it is a challenge to give. But we say, you know what? I don't want to be challenged to give in. I don't want to be challenged, God. This is my stuff. It's my money. These are my things. It's mine. It's not yours. We give, or lukewarm Christians give, when it's convenient. Don't challenge me, God. And the last thing today, I'm going to talk about this. Lukewarm Christians do this. They're really good at not looking much different than the rest of the world. We're called to be a light on a hill, salt of the earth. We're really good about not looking much different than the rest of the world. Lukewarm Christians watch the same movies, listen to the same music, use the same language, complain about the same things, want comfy Christianity, and you want all of what God has for you, but you don't want to follow what he wants you to do. A lukewarm Christian says, give me all the blessings, give me the provision, give me the good things, but man, don't challenge me, don't hover over me. God, don't require anything else of me. Lukewarm Christians want comfortable Christianity. They want enough of Jesus to get into heaven and keep you out of hell, but not so much that it turns you into one of those people that is into all of that spiritual stuff. God, don't make me one of those weird people. I want to be saved from the penalty of sin without changing your life. I've had this question, how far can I go, Shane? What can I get away with? The Bible says, if you're lukewarm, I will spit you out, says Jesus. How would I know, this pastor standing up here, what lukewarm looks like? You say that, well, Shane, you don't know what it's like. I've been a lukewarm follower before. I remember when I first got saved, man, I was on fire for Christ. I was an idiot. I was the guy that was wearing the cliche t-shirts, look like it says Abercrombie and Fitch, but it really says cleverly a breadcrumb and fish. I was that guy. I was that guy. Moron. If you own one of those shirts, I'm saying it to you too, put it away. It is not effective. It's not effective, and it's just not. It's just not. But I've been that guy that's like, hey, here I come. I'm going to tell you about Jesus. Run from me. I've been that guy. But then I've also been on the other side of that where I've been the lukewarm idiot that thinks I've got it figured out. I've let my ministry and my work for God substitute my relationship for God. I will say that to you. I stand up here today and say I've been that. I'm guilty of letting that happen. It's convicting. It's hurtful. It's dangerous. And I say it to you today. Bill Hybels has this saying, and he says, the way I was doing the work of God destroyed the work that God was doing in me. And we do the same things with our life. We do the same things with our life. I have been guilty. I stand before you. I've been in ministry now for 16 years. I've been guilty of being a full-time pastor and part-time follower of Jesus. And I think we have people that can relate in being a full-time mother, yet a part-time follower of Christ. People that are guilty of being a full-time businessman or woman, but being a part-time follower of Jesus. And I get it, man. Life is tough. The grind is tough. We're tired. We have to be a parent. We got to keep up with the Joneses. It's difficult. So we get caught up making that our full-time life, pleasing. We want recognition from others rather than Christ. It's a challenge. We get caught up with that. So we're a part-time follower of Christ because the world sees me. I've got to be a full-time businessman. I have to be a full-time mother. I have to do that. So the thing that I sacrifice is my relationship with Christ. So I'm a part-time follower of him. We have students, same thing. I get it. It's stressful to be a student, making the grade, making the team, satisfying your parents, trying to fit in. We become a full-time student and a part-time follower of Jesus. The greatest oxymoron that I could share today, a lukewarm Christian. Because here's the thing, it's too easy to be a Christian here. Persecution, for some reason, in some places causes passion. It's too simple to be a Christian here. It's crazy that in places like China and places like Iran that the church can flourish while being challenged to be a part of it. They meet secretly in caves. They can't wear the stupid shirt because they'd be executed for it or locked up in jail. because they simply say, I am a full-time believer in Christ. They have to do it in secret and recruit people to join them in secret. Hey, come to this secret meeting in a cave. They don't have Pro Presenter. They don't have a children's ministry. They don't have a new edition. They don't have any of those things, yet it flourishes. It is hot. It's not lukewarm. It's hot. It's flourishing. They're not trying to coax people into Easter. Hey, come see us on Easter. We're going to have a video game trailer. They're not saying that in China. Hey, we're going to have inflatables. We're going to have animals and pictures. And we want you to come back next week, and we're going to give you your pictures next week. And they don't have to coax it. But it's so simple in America. There's no challenge to come to church. Would it be better if I said, hey, one person's going to die on the way to one church on Easter? I'll be there. That's exactly what happens in other countries. Someone could be executed just because we met together and talked about something that is radical, that threatens to change people, that threatens to change a way of life. It's too easy. Christian atheists, lukewarm. Easy to be lukewarm. We have so much. We're just like the church in Laodicea. We've got the theaters. We've got the stadiums. We've got the shopping centers. Yet we've got 2 services to make it convenient for you. I've got guys that are like, okay, what time are your services? Because I got to be out in time for football. I realize that I have DVR, but somebody could tell me on my social media account, so I have to experience it because if I watch it live, I can affect the outcome. Oh, Shane, it's football season. I don't know. Hey, it's football season, and I have season tickets, so I don't know that I'll see you again for the next 7 or 8 weeks, 15, 16 weeks. Never more than 16 if you're a Chiefs fan. It stops the 16th week. Verse 17, you say, I am rich. We are rich by worldly standards. You say, I'm rich. Check. I have acquired wealth. Check. I do not need a thing. Check. That is us. We qualify for this, but you do not realize that in the midst of this, that you're wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, and naked. Worldly wealth, yet spiritually bankrupt. Lukewarm and loving it. Straight to hell. This oxymoron, lukewarm Christian. Wretched, pitiful, poor, blind, naked. You think God was talking to Christians in this? You think God is talking to some of us today through this? Tell me the Bible isn't relevant today? Some of us today are feeling the general conviction of God because we realize that we haven't been a full-time Christian. We're hearing this, realizing today that we haven't been a full-time Christian. And if you hear that and you're saying, yes, Shane, I get that. That's what I'm feeling in my spirit. What do I do about it? Now what? The answer is simple. Open the door and let him in. Revelation 3:20. Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. Knock, knock, knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. Revelation 3:20. Knock, knock, knock. It's Jesus. Come in. Knock, knock, knock. Jesus is calling. Come in. Let him in. And for those of you today that you say, I know him, but I'm complacent and I don't want to be uncomfortable, Shane. I don't want to be challenged. What do? You run to him. You run him. You run to him and he's there for you because your Father loves you. Your Father loves you. When you know him, it looks like this. You crave acceptance from him. When you know him, you share him whenever and wherever possible. When you know him, you long to be with him eternally in heaven. And when you know him, you realize that this world is not your home. And when you know him, you give radically, generously, fanatically. When you know him, you seek God faithfully. You grieve over your sinfulness. And when you know him, you are different, set apart from this world. We are in it, but not of it. We're in the world. We exist in the world, exactly, with the rest of people, but we're not of it. We realize that it's not about this. We quit focusing on the 6 inches and focus on the rest of the rope, the rest of the journey, the rest of eternity. Lukewarm. Is it you? Let's pray.